Hello and welcome to this News9 special. The JDS has in fact now announced its 9-point manifesto. And in that 9-point manifesto, they have gone ahead and announced a series of schemes for the farmers as well as the women in Karnataka. But some of those schemes are not technically subsidies. They also border around freebies. And these freebies are said to cost the exchequer. But these are promises that are being made in the manifesto. And it is not that the JDS alone has made these promises. You have even the Congress making those promises in the manifesto. Now, former Chief Minister and JDS leader H.D. Kumaraswamy had released that party's 9-point manifesto in Bengaluru. And this was for the Karnataka Assembly elections that are scheduled on May 10th. The manifesto was prepared by a committee that has been led by the party MLC B.M. Farooq. The party has announced various schemes for all sections of society. Interesting among them is that there is an announcement for rupees 6,000 per month for 6 months for pregnant women, waiver of loans for women's self-help groups, rupees 2,000 per month for 36,000 farm laborers, and rupees 10,000 per acre to farmers to buy seeds and fertilizers, rupees 2,000 for auto drivers. Security guards would also be given, especially those who have been registered, will be given rupees 2,000 per month. Also, there is freebies for a lot of students as well. Free bicycles for 6.8 lakh high school students. Interestingly enough, electric mopeds for students of first degree grade college in EWS category, free education for EWS students in degree, engineering and medical colleges. And also there are several other sort of promises that have been given for the transport employees, lawyers, as well as to resolve the reservation issue confusion that is prevalent at the moment. So all these are the kind of promises that have been made in the manifesto. But the big question is, will it be kind of making economic sense when it comes to the exchequer, is the big question that needs to be asked in this. Well, joining us, we have with us Basavaraj Itnal, senior journalist, who's joining us on the phone line. Basavaraj, when these SOPs are being announced, there is this huge question that comes again and again. And this question is with regards to where does someone identify it probably as a subsidy that could help a community and at the same time a freebie. There seems to be a confusion over subsidy and freebie when it comes to political posturing, isn't it?
Absolutely. There is a lot of difference between subsidy and freebie. That is a given. Because, for example, the LPG subsidy that used to be given was a subsidy. It was not a freebie. And there's also a seed subsidy that is, or fertilizer subsidy that's given to farmers. Again, that's not a freebie. Subsidy is a part of the, expense borne by the government. And how it is borne by it, is it directly paying the consumer or the farmer, whoever is the target group? Is it that way, or is it subsidizing the seller? For example, tractor subsidy for farmers. It goes directly to the seller's account. It doesn't go to farmers. So, anyway, these are various mechanisms by which a government tries to spur growth or support certain needy domains of society. Okay, that's one thing. But this argument about this freebies, whether it is stipend for Congress stipend for, the graduates and diploma, or every housewife being given 2,000 rupees, all these Congress guarantees that are there in Karnataka, they can be called, very easily freebies. But at the same time, why these things happen? Even during Indira Gandhi's time, we had this scheme of stipends, There was a scheme where unemployed youth were unemployed graduates. Graduates were given a monthly stipend. And subsequently it was removed. We need to understand why it was given and why it was removed. It was given in an era of a welfare state, completely socialist welfare state, wherein entire industry was controlled by the government itself. There was a huge public sector undertakings and the government was the only employer. So when the only employer fails to provide job for a educated and eligible youth, it is incumbent upon the government to take care of them. That's why that stipend and all that unemployment allowance came through. And it's more or less it is a social security scheme, which is there in all developed countries.
But then, Basuraj Itnal, just hold on to your thoughts. Let's get in Professor Chambi Puranik as well. Professor Chambi Puranik, the JDS has announced its manifesto, and of course there is a lot of subsidies as well as freebies, which I think is there. How do you see it? Because they are talking about mopeds for, electric mopeds for degree students in EWS category. Free education, of course, I agree with that. But then what about the other things that are being put forward, which tender to be more of freebies when it comes to in the election manifesto? Because now there is this huge confusion saying that what is a freebie and what is a subsidy, because sometimes a freebie has been also put as loose cash and has been transferred as well. So there is this huge confusion that is happening. Where does the subsidy end and where does the freebie begin? How do you in fact see this?
No, in any state, if the government that is in power or those who are fighting elections, if they promise, it should be within the limits. There is a Lakshman Rekha where the economy and the kind of debt that particular state holds, it should be taken care of. Otherwise, you will go bankrupt. Like Kejriwal promising. It started with Kejriwal. It's not only subsidies, even freebies also come under that category. Whether subsidy or freebie, it also amounts to the economic burden that the state government has to bear. Now, in this case, the Pancharatna Yatra or Pancharatna promises made by Mr. Prime Minister, former Prime Minister H.D. Devagowda and his son Kumaraswamy, they look very rosy, but no, I think they are not impractical in every sense of the term that you say. You see, look at that. They promise allowance for unemployed graduates. They promise for 36 to 40,000 women, pregnant women, that you will be given 5,000 rupees per month. Anganwadi workers, not only will confirm you, we will increase your salary. This kind of farm laborers, they have separately identified, because those who don't own agriculture land, they come under it. So we will give you this subsidy also like that. 10,000 for seeds and fertilizers. Okay, this point, you and me can agree. Even free education for children, you and me can agree. But, giving bicycles, Mr. Yediyurappa tried that experiment, but later, they could not. Now, Mr. Kejriwal has withdrawn many of the concessions given, including the free electrical supply, that is units and all that. So that means to say, these are all, for me, please don't laugh at me, because when I say politician and lover, they are known for such false promises, because they know they will not get power, and they will give a rosy picture and try to attract youth or women or innocent people or unemployed youth, etc. So they come under the same category. The only government that is capable of delivering is the government that comes to power. JDS also, I think they are overconfident, saying that we'll get 123 and Kumaraswamy will have independent government, because they have very bad experience with coalition experiment and all that. Now, Congress also has come out with lots of same, kind of contradictory things which don't make. Already the state is burdened, I'm told, by the economic experts, because I'm not an expert, I'm only a political scientist. See, more than 5.5 lakh crores loan burden is already there on the state. Where are you going to get money? It's like saying, BJP saying, we'll put 15 lakhs into every person's account. Same thing, it will also go in. So the Pancharatna Yojane, Sarati Yojane, Vidyadhini Yojane, then the kind of economic weaker sections and all that. No, they say medical college, engineering college, degree college, will give free education. And how are you going to do it? Because they are all in the hands of private management. 45 to 55% of private institutions are running the educational institutions here. So therefore, the state has, state has just given up its responsibility to give education, health facilities to the people of the state.
Well, Mr. Puranik, hold on to your thoughts. Basuraj Itnal is also with us. But before I come back to you, let's listen to what the Prime Minister had to say when it came to the issue about subsidies as well. Technically not subsidies, but rather freebies. When he was asked a question at the Karyakartas conclave yesterday in Karnataka. Let's listen to what the Prime Minister had to say.
अगर यहां ऐसी सरकार आएगी जो बात बात पर केंद्र सरकार से लड़ती रहेगी, योजनाओं को रोकती रहेगी, जनता जनार्दन का जो भी हो जाए उनकी राजनीति चलते रहे, अगर यही हुआ तो सारे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के प्रोजेक्ट्स को वो लटकाती रहेगी। हम रोड बना चाहेंगे, वो जमीन संपादन का काम ही धीरे धीरे करेंगे। तो कैसे निवेश आएगा? निवेश नहीं आएगा तो कर्नाटका में नए रोजगार कैसे बन पाएंगे? यानी डबल इंजन की सरकार का न रहने पर जनता पर डबल मार पड़ती है। और आप देखिए, आप सामान्य नागरिक से बात करते ये भी बता सकते हैं कि देखो भाई, ट्रैक्टर है, हम बहुत बढ़िया काम करता है, लेकिन ट्रैक्टर का एक पहिया आप मारुति कार का लगा दें तो बताइए वो ट्रैक्टर चलेगा क्या? किसी के काम आएगा क्या? वो खुद ही अपनी उसमें बर्बादी करेगा कि नहीं करेगा?
Well, that was in fact the Prime Minister also speaking about the double engine growth that is required, and later on he also went ahead and hit out against the issue about freebies being given. Basuraj, again, the issue over here is simple. The question is how much of revenue the state is going to get, and from that how much it can go for subsidies. And then when it comes to subsidies, we have issues about it being flagged out. There are states that have almost have 40% to debt to their GSDP ratio, which is being considered to be very problematic. So how do you see this? Because the larger question over here is the government there to make profit, or is the government there to ensure that governance takes place, but at some kind of money being also there in the exchequer? So there is this huge question as to how much of money can be spent on social good as well.
I will start by extending the point Professor Puranik said about lovers and politicians not keeping any promises. Okay, that exactly tells us not to trust them, not to fall in love with politicians as well. So we must take whatever the politicians say with a generous amount of salt. Number one. Number two, I was listening to what the Prime Minister was saying about investment and the subsidies and double engine governments and all that. Now, I need to understand what is the connection between investment and unemployment support. See, a right to livelihood is built in right to life, which is a fundamental, right and guaranteed by Constitution. It is government's job to provide livelihood, not that, it's not that they should directly pay the money. Livelihood creation is the creation of jobs. Has the government created jobs as it promised in 2014 or 2019 in double engine the state of Karnataka as well? How many jobs were created? So when you are not created the jobs, youth is going to graduate from schools and colleges and, PhDs. What are you going to do with them? So if you are not going, if there is investment, if there is no job creation, then what is the next alternative to support the unemployed youth? Obviously, by giving social security funding. This is nothing but social security. So it is not connected to investment. Investment will come here looking at the social harmony. What is the fabric for political stability? What is the social fabric here? What is the cultural fabric here? Looking at that, those are the things that influence investors. If the state is going to fight, divided among the Hindus and Muslims, and halal and hijab and all those communal, disturbances, no investors would want to come here, even if your GDP is very high. Especially a foreign investor, they won't come here. So those are two different things. And as far as freebies and subsidies, freebies where it becomes social security, outreach, where it becomes freebies. For example, in Tamil Nadu, we have had in past a particular political party promising free television to everybody, and another party coming and tell them free cable connections to every television. So that is a freebie. It has got without a television, without a cable connection, people are going to die.
Well, in fact that is quite interesting, because even my understanding of that has been that at the moment of election you are given something physical. I mean, it's not only in Tamil Nadu. We have been talking about not only televisions or cable connections. We've been, in fact, seeing many more grinders, cookers, whatnot coming in. Professor Chambi Puranik, that should be the understanding of freebies, right? Like, you are just ahead going into elections and suddenly you start coming with these gifts. There are coupons given for saris, there are coupons given for shirts, there are coupons given for house utensils, and there are so many things that are given as freebies at that time, and that is coming from where, if you ask, the money is coming from the parties, basically. That is a freebie. But when a government tries to, in fact, go ahead and spend money when it comes to social issues, and well, that is where we have to, in fact, draw the line as well, isn't it? We were talking about electricity being an issue. We were talking about how some of those subsidies that were promised by AAP had become an issue. But here in Karnataka, I was just looking at the debt to GSDP ratio. Fairly enough, they have been within this thing, around 20. They have, in fact, estimated this year they are going to reduce it to something like 23 to 24% when it comes to a debt to GSDP ratio. So when fairly they've been able to maintain within that structure, we have seen the BJP not offering that kind of the freebies that the other parties have been offering. They are mostly seem to be rooted with what the money is coming into the exchequer. And of course, the Prime Minister has been against the idea of a freebie as well. But then, one of the issues that a lot of people in Karnataka have been raising is about what would the farmers get. And here in the JDS manifesto, we are talking about the seeds as such, 10,000 per month per acre to buy seeds and things like that. But farming community has been the community that has been getting a lot of subsidies, a lot of waiver of loans, and still it's in perpetual crisis. Why? Where are we going wrong?
No, it's because JDS per se, a party which is based on the rural support. I am not saying Vokkaligas, because Devegowda's image is much beyond that. But Vokkaliga votes are the sizable, winnable kind of votes which the swing that comes in favor of JDS in old Mysore. I think, he has taken care of that. But all over Karnataka, they have also some kind of affinity with farmers. Farmers expect that JDS is going to perform better and all that. But Mr. Varghese, as you said in the beginning itself, how are you going to maintain the fiscal discipline? That is the problem which the opposition parties, including JDS, they know it very well, that it's unlikely that they will get a clear mandate and they will be more. But,
so it's okay to make promises. So it's okay to make promises.
It's false promises. Not only false promises, you are creating such kind of expectations among the people. The rising expectations among the people will not only confuse them, but it's also a kind of allurement. I would rather say it's like, bribing the voters in a larger way, saying that the state exchequer will come to your rescue and I'm going. See, he has mentioned about 2,000 rupees being given to all auto rickshaw drivers. Imagine.
No, that is something that I was also wondering. And registered security guards also will be given 2,000 rupees a month. Now, that would be something like a huge drain on the exchequer. I mean, it's good to look at the promise on the ground. Whether you'll come to power or not is a very quick question.
Rosy promises. But, when these are all temporary SOPs, before the elections, you promise it. When you come to power, let us say coalition government or, support their own, they will not be able to deliver even 50% of the promises they have made. And they also mentioned that we are going to give subsidy to lawyers. We'll protect we'll give support to lawyers. That is not clear. So like that, there are new areas where JDS has capped, and they expect that this kind of thing will emerge in favor of JDS party and all that. All that I'm saying is, these are all the kind of things that are unfortunate. There is no difference between freebies and subsidies. Subsidies, definitely we welcome, because that empowers them. But Mr. Etnal said about employment. That kind of empowerment is not there. You are giving empowerment for temporary sustenance. But in terms of the self-reliance, the kind of job expectation, the youths who are expecting, and then there are 11 lakh new voters, what is their expectation? So they have an eye on this, very clever, crafty, and kind of allurement that I see in all the manifestos, more so in the manifesto of opposition parties. As you said, Mr. Bommai, having been in the seat of power, he has restrained himself from offering such promises. Not only that, there is a double engine government which has to take care of it. That has not been done so generously to Karnataka. Even though we have given 25 MPs, I don't think Karnataka can boast of these things. For example, you take, Mr. Varghese, I'll give an example. The central Karnataka, where Prime Minister addressed a gathering of nearly 2 lakh people in Davangere, there was not a single economic project that was announced. In all areas, they have tried to, let us say, lay foundation or declare this particular thing is coming in, is coming in. Now, why industry and other things should come? It's because it's going to create a kind of environment, the economic activity will spur, and people will feel that there is a kind of hope for such employments or the kind of allied industries or services that are there. So all these things in a kind of visionary perspective, I think the BJP has not been able to deliver. And they are telling that because the double engine Sarkar is there, we'll get, but as you said, GST contribution of Karnataka is very high. And also Karnataka has managed its economy so well. So in terms of these things, I think we have to look at it from a holistic point of view rather than the kind of promises which are made in the manifesto. Most of them are simply promises on paper. They will not be able to deliver, and they will also tell that, look, central government has not given money and the state government is trying to take loan. Already we have to clear the loan, the debt clearance and all that. So that kind of political situation that is there, the economic discipline will be lacking, and it will become a kind of state where we have to depend on further loan either from Government of India or from other states. That's the kind of situation I anticipate.
Well, Professor Puranik, stay with us. We have also Basuraj Indal. I wanted to push that question to him as well. Basuraj Indal, for the time India has been independent, we've been talking about subsidies and schemes for farmers, and every government that comes in keeps on talking about it. Most of the parties also speak about giving subsidies to the agricultural sector, and it's a lot. If we look at the entire kind of schemes and that has been introduced, the kind of subsidies that has been introduced, if it was properly implemented, probably the agricultural sector wouldn't have been in a crisis. But we continue to do so. Why is it that despite so much of subsidies, so much of freebies being given to the agricultural sector, there seems to be an inability for the sector to, in fact, become self-sustaining? What could be the reason?
Whether it was earlier, centralized economic kind of system, I'm talking about pre-91 era, or post-91. Pre-91, it was government's responsibility to take care of everything. Then the slogan was roti, kapda or makan. Okay? So that was the fundamental, because it's part of fundamental rights, right to livelihood. And when you don't enable the, people to earn their livelihood, then you will have to support. That was the logic offered earlier. And then also what happened was that in all subsidy schemes, even in all this kind of stipend schemes or whatever, the DBT, direct benefit transfer, whatever they do, there is a huge lacuna in administration of these schemes. Okay. Whether it is this government or earlier government, double engine, single engine, no engine, whatever, there is a huge lacuna, there is a huge inefficiency due to corruption, inherent corruption in the system in administering these things. Number one. Number two, there is no proper IEC, information and education and communication, to the target groups. Why farming continues to be a loss-making business for the farmer, while everybody in the supply chain is profiting. The agent, the commission agent is profiting, the seller is profiting, the retailer is profiting, everybody is profiting except the farmer, except the producer. That is because a wrong administration of all these schemes. While they start with good intentions, that intention is defeated in implementation. Number one. Number two, we were talking about, you just mentioned about Karnataka's debt to GDP, GSDP ratio, being within safe limits. But the problem is just not that. There are two arguments here. One is, government is not in the business of making profits. Government is not a private limited company. It is essentially a welfare state. It is a system running welfare state for the welfare of everybody. Nobody is making profits in government. Nobody should. Number one. Number two, now even if it is well within our safety limits, what is happening is we are comparing debt to GSDP. But of this GSDP, how much is coming back to us? From the divisible tax pool, Karnataka is getting 6% of its contribution. If Karnataka is, contributing 100 rupees for the central tax pool, it is getting 6 rupees. And in that 6 rupees, they have to plan all these things. Plus their own income will be there, their state revenues will be there, but that's not much. But 6, in that they have to plan everything. Then where is 94 rupees going? 94 rupees is going to,
Right.
the least developed state, Bhimaru state, north. And what development status is there? What? Because while Karnataka's government's job is to take care of Karnataka's people, but Karnataka is also contributing to UP development, Bihar development. Why should Karnataka, why should all southern states which are very well contributors to central pool of tax, they should question this.
Right. Thank you, Baswaraj Itnal, for in fact speaking to News9. Well, there it goes. The JDS announcing SOPs. The big question is how much of it will be subsidy, how much of it will be freebies, and at the same time, does it make any sort of fiscal prudence sense when it comes to how can it be managed? And despite all this, of course, a lot of parties have been in fact saying that they are giving SOPs, but when you come to the hot seat, how will you manage those finances and whether you will be able to keep up with your promises? With that, it's a wrap on this News9 special. Stay tuned for News9 programs.